Welcome to the part second of how to use entity framework code first. This is Nagesh here. In first part of this tutorial, we have seen what is entity framework. So entity framework basically it acts as an interface or bridge between your .NET applications and relational database, and it is an object relational mapper that we have seen in the part first of this particular tutorial. Then after that, we have seen why there is need of the entity framework. Then we have seen how we can work with the entity framework. We can use three different approaches in case of the entity framework, that is database first, model first, and code first. So all these things we have explored in case of the part first of this particular tutorial. Now after that, we have seen how we can create a ASP.NET MVC5 project, and in that particular project how we can install the entity framework from NuGet package manager and from package manager console. Now in part second of this particular tutorial, that is how to use entity framework code first. In that, first we are going to see how we can creating the model classes, and later on we are going to see CRUD using entity framework code first. So in first part of the tutorial, we have seen how we can work with the entity framework code first and how we can install it. Now in the second part, let's see so in first part you can see the in case of solution explorer, that is just we have created the entity framework and we have added the reference of the entity framework by using the NuGet package manager. Now see, now our requirement is to add the create a model classes. Now see, here you will get a one folder that is called as a model. Right click on that particular folder and we want to create a domain classes over here. So right click on the folder, add. Our requirement is to add a class. Add a class, name this particular class as a product. Name this particular class as a product. So I'm naming this particular class as a product.cs. Add. Now see, here we are creating the model classes. That means we are going to create the domain model classes by using POCO. This is a plain old CLR object classes which will have no dependency on entity framework. That means these classes are just a plain and domain specific classes, like simple, you can say for example that is this is the student class, customer class, etc. And these POCO classes has nothing to do with the technology. That is, these particular classes either you can, if you want to use it in the Java, you can use it in the Java, .NET, PHP or etc. And we can use these classes anywhere as per our requirement. So this is just in simple POCO classes, and these particular classes have no any dependency on entity framework. Now see, here I want to add some in this particular product model class. I want to add some properties. That is, I want to add the suppose ID. So that means I want to add integer ID, that is for the product ID. Then I want to add one more thing, that is the product name. You can type the prop and press tab 2 times. Then string product name, product name. One more thing I want to add it over here, that is category. That means we want to create one more model class, that is category, and for that I want to add the ID over here. That is, we can add integer category ID, then one more thing over here, that is category I want to add category over here. Now see, category, same thing. What is this? You will get to know. And one more thing, that is price, that is public decimal. I want to add the price, or you can say it as a unit price. So this is my one simple class, that is a product. Now I want to add one more model class, that is category. Now here you can see, in case of the product model class, we have added certain field, that is ID, product name, category ID, category, and unit price. Now here see, in this class we have used the property whose name is a ID in the camel case, or if you use it in the caps as a ID, or your class name, that is product, which is followed by the capital ID or small ID, or you can say camel case ID. Then entity framework treat this particular property as a key by convention. Now see, I want to create one more class called as a category.cs. So here in my model folder, I'm going to add one more class, add class called as a category.cs. Add this one. Now I want to add the properties in this particular category, that is integer ID, then category name, string, data type of category name is a string, category name. Then one more thing I want to add over here, that is I collection of product I collection of product. Now see, here entity framework makes it easy to take advantages of the primary and foreign key relationship within the database, and it exposes properties on the model class that enable you to traverse across them. Now see, in the previous code, that is in the product.css, we have exposed the product property on the category class to retrieve all the product within the category. Similarly, we have used here this one. product, and here we need to give the name, that is a products, that is the product. So it will return the list of the product. Now see my class, that is the product.cs. So it is displaying the public category over there. So this is how we have created the two model classes. Now one more thing there, that is we need to create over here, that is called as a context. That means here we need to add one more class. In case of my solution explorer in model, I need to add one more class, that is, suppose I am naming it as a code first context dot cs. Now this code first context class is used to map the product and category class to and from the database. That means this class is used to map the product and category classes, and this particular class is derived from db context. This particular class is derived from the db context, and for that we need to use a namespace called as a using system.data.entity. Here we need to use a namespace, that is system.data.entity. So this particular class, that is code first context, is derived from the db context, and it exposes the two db set properties from the root entities of the model, that is products and categories. Those set are automatically initialized when the code first context class instance is created. Now see, we want to add the two db set properties over there. So in that case, we can add like this one. I am having code, I am just copying and pasting it over here. Now see here, I have used something called as I have created the constructor, and this constructor is inheriting the base class, and to this base I have passing the parameter, that is a product database. So this is the product database, is the name of my connection string. That is where I want to create my database. And here db set properties, I am getting the two db set properties, one for the products and another for the categories. Now in my web configuration file, in my root web configuration file, under the connection string, I want to add something. We want to add connection string over there, so we can add the connection string like this one. So I am giving the add name is equal to product database, connection string is something like this one, integrated security is equal to true, and provider is something. So our requirement is that it should create a database with the name as a, instead of product database, I am giving the product category as my database name, or you can say product db as my database name, and it is using the Windows authentication by default. And this is my connection string, where our requirement is that it should create the database for us. Now see, once it is done, now our requirement is that we want to add the controller over here. So in case of the controller, right click on the controller, add controller. We want to create the MVC5 controller with views using the entity framework. Add. Here give name of the controller as a categories and products. So first one, I want to give the name of the controller as a products. products. Now here we want to use the model class, so my model class is the product, and data context class, that is the code first context. Click on OK. So it will generate views, reference script libraries, and use a layout page. If there is any layout page, it by default use that particular layout page. Click on add. So it will generate the views for us. In case of the views folder, it will create one product folder, and in that product folder it will create a views for us, and by default it uses the Razor view engine with the extension that is .cshtml. So it will create the 5 views for us for index, create, delete, details, and edit. Similarly, like this one, we need to add the one more controller for the categories. Just a minute, we want to, before doing adding the controller, we need to build the project. So build the project and then try to add the controller. Once it is done, then again try to add the controller. So it is done. Right click on the controller folder, right click, add. Sorry, instead of class, our requirement is that we want to add a controller. Add controller. Name of the controller is, we want MVC5 controller with views using entity framework. Add. Name of the controller is a products. Model class is the product. Context class is the code first context. Click on add. So it will generate the views for us. Same thing, similarly, we want to add the categories. For that we want to create one more controller for categories. So once it is done, we'll add one more controller for the categories. So it is done. Now you can see in case of Solution Explorer, in case of views, it has created one products folder, and where it has created the index, edit, details, delete, and create. Similarly, our requirement is that to add one more controller for categories. MVC5 categories. Categories controller, then model class. Here we want a category, and context is the same. Click on add. So it will add the category. So we have done with it. Now build this one, build the Solution Explorer, build the project in case of solution using Solution Explorer. Now run this particular project. You can use a Firefox. Now you can see